On this episode of Leader Talk, we're analyzing CEO Tim Cook of Apple. Every CEO gets 3 questions. Are you clear? Concise? And credible? Let's take a look at Tim Cook answering these 3 questions from Jim Cramer.
Right now, people are saying, Jim, give me the investment case for buying the stock.
Well, you know, I never try to sell a stock. I try to sell a product.
Now, he just started that answer there. Well, you know, and he hesitated in his response. We're gonna have to mark this down in the results here. Whenever you get a question that's asked of you, instead of jumping directly into the answer, pause before you answer any question. Then come up with a real word.
However, let me tell you the way I look at it.
Okay.
Now, we just saw him answer this by saying, however. Let me tell you about the way I look at it. That was a much better way to start. He could have even started this whole answer from this point here.
The most important things in Apple, 1, a culture of innovation. This team is unbelievable in creating hardware and software and services and getting them all to work together. It just works. 2nd,
let's talk about his content here. He's delivering this in a measured approach by using 1, maybe 2, he's gonna come up with here, he's talking. Maybe he'll stretch to 3 things. Let's see how he does this, but this allows him to show the audience, I'm thinking as a process flow. In my head, I've already calculated what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna show you this in a process. If we analyze his gestures, he's doing something quite interesting in that he's gesturing forward. He's also leaning with his posture forward to get Jim interested in this conversation. The only aspect that he should adjust from is he's constantly praying to Jim Cramer as if, please trust me on this. That's an aspect of his gestures that if he just opened it up, he'd look less prayy and more focused.
very large active install base. It hit 1.3 billion a year ago, and we've added about 100 million in the last 12 months. 3rd, highest customer satisfaction and loyalty in the industry. So you put those 2 things together, if you got a lot of a big active install base and you got a lot of happy customers, then you have a recurring revenue stream on your product business. And then because of our ecosystem that we built, which has unbelievable developers in it and an app store to get services out there, we built a services business that was, you know, a little over $7 billion in 2010. Last year, for the calendar year, over 41 billion.
Now we're gonna pause it there. He's answering this question in a very long format. I can see that Jim is itching to get in. His posture right now, he's sitting upright constantly. That stool is really supporting him in sitting upright, showing that he's got intention of being focused and engaged in this conversation.
Our dumb watch that told time, and now we have a smartwatch that saves our life.
Yeah.
We love the big fat jack, and then we got the lightning jack. We loved our Sony $2,000 mirrorless camera until we got the iPhone 10, which takes better pictures. Why do you therefore have a 12 multiple? Because to me, that is wrong.
Yeah, I think it's wrong too, but I tell you what I focus on is...
He answered that. You may have heard this before. I think it's wrong too. Do you think it's wrong or you know it's wrong? This is a statement that as leaders, we should be more decisive in our answers. Now, he said it once, we're not going to mark this down, but we are looking to see, is he going to use this again or is he going to avoid it and use something else? It wasn't necessary here. He could have just paused.
And so the customers speak every quarter, they speak every year, they speak every day. And the most important thing for us is that they're satisfied. And so when I read emails and so forth from customers, they're telling me how the Apple Watch has changed their life. They're telling me how it motivated them to be more fit, be more active. They're telling me that they discovered they had AFib.
Tim here is talking about examples. He wants to show to all the listeners that Apple's products are changing people's lives. Examples are an amazing way to get an audience to recognize the difference its products make.
Telling me they found a problem with their heart that they didn't know existed, and if they wouldn't have reached out to a doctor, they might have died. And so these are life-changing things. We've got machine learning embedded in our silicon, in our phone. You know, this allows us not only the power efficiency to have an incredible performance in a very small package, but it allows us to manipulate this data on the phone, have the transactions on the phone as opposed to letting them out in the world. And you know, the whole privacy issue for, we've always been on the right side of privacy.
Right. Now we're gonna pause him there. A trait that we're seeing is that Tim is answering a question and then he's going off into another area of conversation also. This is not a bad thing, but also should he be wrapping up a little sooner to have more dialogue with Jim here. Jim's asking the final third question that we're going to analyze. Here, he's asking about why people aren't upgrading their phones.
Not an upgrader because you made the greatest product. What do we do about that? What do you do?
Well, the most important thing for me is that she's happy. That is the most important thing. Now, if she's not upgrading for another reason, maybe it's too much of a...
That was a great answer there. It's awesome to see that I don't have to give any disfluency discounts here because he paused and started with the correct answer. I want to make sure that that person, whoever it might be, is happy.
Maybe she's worried about the transfer of data. All of this stuff, we want to help on. And you know, we've got the store that you're in that's very focused on having the best customer experience there, helping people set up their new phone, making sure all their data is transferred, and also allowing them to trade in their current phone.
Excellent. We've had a great example here of how Tim Cook makes sure he has executive presence every time he communicates. If we focus on his gestures, he's also going to score quite high because at least he's using them. Yes, we want him to break away from sometimes being a prayer, but we also recognize that he brings people in whenever he's using his gestures appropriately. Tim scores very high when it comes to the tone of his voice. He's constantly changing his vocal variety. He's pulling the audience in for a sustained attention span because he's going up and down. Excellent scores go up here. Eye contact for Tim. This is an area where he's laser focused on Jim. He's not looking anywhere else. This is excellent. The only adjustment might be he can glare for a sustained period of time, and I do wonder, is it too long at certain moments? But for this, we're gonna score him quite high because at least he's staying focused. For posture, Tim's scoring quite high. He sits upright. He's even using the stool to push himself up to make sure he's present and connected. Anytime you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out, how do I finish my answer to this question? That's where you should be pausing and allow your brain to reach for the answer that's just waiting to come out. But if you start to use the ums, it sounds as if you're not prepared and you're simply gonna say anything to finish up that answer. Overall, Tim is displaying excellent qualities of leadership. He's showing here a vision for Apple and explaining that with examples and content that keeps an audience focused and attentive. If you found our content resonated with you, please share it or send us a comment. Who would you like us to analyze?